Ooh, nice. I like how you have those color coded.
Scored his ass.
Yo, Fizz, why does yours look so ugly? Bye bye.
It's
Baba.
Come on, bro.
sauce. If you know how to
Come
read
on.
this chart, it's sauce.
Holy man, why does my thing always do this?
All right, I'm gonna mute up.
Is it gonna be like the basics again?
Yeah, basic rundown, and then let's go a little into personalization of how we do it. Hello?
Hello? What the fuck?
Yo.
Hello?
I think
Bro,
Fizz's internet
Fizz,
might
yeah,
have
his internet's so bad.
usually it's pretty good internet.
No, my internet did not crash. My internet
Bro, I
did
can't
not
say.
oh,
Oh,
crash.
now I can
okay,
see
just-
stuff. All
It
right,
just
My
was very,
internet did
very
not
still.
crash.
it's very
It
blurry.
is.
Is it?
Yeah, it's very blurry.
It'll render.
Okay. Do we want to wait on people, or we still want to?
Let me say starting now. Oh, whoa, there's a decent amount of people in here. What the fuck?
How many?
I don't know. I thought there were like 4. I slid down though.
Le crab.
Brad, stop kissing. Fucking, I'm 4 5. Oh, sorry. 4 5.
Every time we start these recordings, Benjamin Banks has to come in and start it off gay.
Yes, bro. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I caught him slipping in that one video.
Yeah.
Bro, you
That's
gotta do a whole recording. All I say is, I bet that suck you up faster than I
I
can.
know that was the one that I was watching, and pretty gay. Not gonna lie.
Oh, what is my dog doing?
Yo, this happens every time, bro.
What?
Every time I view somebody's stream from my phone, this shit like lags or like freezes and then it closes the app.
I can't.
Rat Trading joined the server.
Oh yeah, it fixed now, Fizz. Your quality's a lot better now.
Very, very good. Very, very good.
You're doing pretty good. You're doing good. What is this? Oh, data warehouse.
Put that pussy on me. All right. We'll probably start now. You guys wait.
What the fuck?
Oh my god, yeah, because we should show them that.
Huh?
We should show them what you just had pulled up as we get into it.
All right. Dude. Bro, I don't like how my dog's looking at me. Hold up. Let me let this motherfucker out of my room because bro, stop.
fucker.
This fucker. Get out.
What up, Dalton? What up,
Ooh.
Dino's son? What up, Dizzy? What up, Eric?
Oh, now
What's
you're
up, man?
here too.
Yo, Eric, you called me.
Oh my god.
Kind of weird. Not gonna
What
lie.
up, bro?
Adding me and
My
calling me,
bad.
but
My bad.
no.
All right, let's just get this shit.
Eric Options added me and called me immediately. Unless you need something urgent, bro, what's up?
My fault. I didn't mean to call you.
You're good.
Eric, you got a cute name, bro.
What up,
For some
Moon?
reason. You got a
What
cute
up,
name.
Connor? What up, Nate? What up,
Appreciate
Noah?
Yeah,
What up,
yeah.
Pine? What up, Preston? What up, Purple?
Noah Bird.
What up, Sam? What up,
Bro,
Scab?
I
What
didn't
up?
even say nothing, bro. Always speaking on my name.
I
What up,
know
Sir?
it's because you didn't say
What up,
anything.
Vitamin Dick? What up, Wanting?
Nah, that's crazy.
Bro, I don't say anything.
Rick
Someone's
Vince.
mad, like Specs. I do say something. Someone's mad, like Benjamin Banks.
Dang.
Same here.
Benjamin Banks hates me.
I heard him. He was just yelled in the background. He queefed. He got so mad.
Oh wait, that's why I figured it out.
What?
Right,
Not
boys.
gonna lie.
It's still
Alright.
no, it's ass now.
No,
Let's
you're
lock
right.
in.
Thanks.
Get
Your ass.
Nah, Sky, your screen is
If
just
you
butt.
guys have any
Ah, no,
questions,
it's bro. He fucking interrupted me.
try to just write them down on a piece of paper or like write them down on your phone, and then let's hold them till the end where we can go over things so that if your question does end up getting answered, that potentially you might not need to ask it.
I just have something to say.
W.
Scab is lying
No,
already.
I would never. I would never. Bro.
Get up. Get up. Go.
Yo,
Coming
Brad,
for
would this be recorded?
Yeah, I hope so.
someone's probably recording it.
I'm probably
No,
gonna
are you
pass out midway.
recording it, Noah?
Yes.
You know what? If you are, make sure you don't have the fucking echo shit on.
Yeah, no,
So
I
watch
turned
me-
it off last time.
All right.
Yeah, fuck you, Scab, asshole.
Nah, that shows AIDS, bro.
I know, I fixed it last video. I fixed it in number 3.
Maybe
Like, I didn't realize until I watched it back.
Sir. Sir.
Yo, somebody call me.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
We missed you, and we needed you,
Yeah.
yep.
Mr. Sir.
We gonna run it? You
What was
ready?
that?
Are we gonna start?
Yeah, let's get it.
All right. What do you want to start on?
Let's start off with, since there are definitely some newer people in here, how to load a ticker, and just the basics of how to read it.
Okay. All right. So, if you want to add a ticker, just right click on your watch list over here. Add. Type in your ticker in this box. Aggregation daily wave 1 is it's the one you're going to use for all the levels. Boom, boom, boom. Double click it to load it. And then you're looking at a wave 1 daily graph. And then be red.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about how to read it?
Yeah, so for the wave 1 daily, you can look at waves as sequences, and it's basically like looking at the fractal hypothesis through a different scope. So the way that the fractal is working, it's looking at patterns and patterns and patterns and patterns, and within those patterns, it's finding patterns because they're just going to replicate each other over and over and over again. So you can look at them in a different scope. So with wave 1, you can look at it as the most granular, where it's just going to be like short-term trends that last around 1, 2, 3, or 4 days, going either up or down. So the fractal is mapping up and down trends over the past, in this case, 200 trading days, but you can load as many trading days as you want. So it's making sense of up and down moves that happen in the market and computing it in a way where it shows the probability and where the trends usually end up at given their certain extension points and reversal points. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Cool.
Yes.
No.
If
All right. What do you
it doesn't
wanna
make
add?
sense, let me know. I'll explain deeper if you have any questions on it. Yeah, so there's a pivot price and there's a vector price. The vector price is going to be that purple line inside of that box. The pivot price is going to be where it says pivot. You can call the vector line, that purple line in the box on this wave 1 daily, you can call that your new pivot price, because the fractal is right now mapping out an L. So it's saying that from the previous trading day, we closed lower than what it closed the previous day. So that created an L1, which was a first day where it closed lower. So if we close lower tomorrow, it'll be an L2. And that is continuation on your trend because you are starting at an L1 and continuing to close lower each day after that. Now, if we were to close above that 318.57 price, which is our new pivot / vector, the fractal would now switch and put that new pivot price, that vector price, that 318.57, right where that pivot price is. And it will now map out a new trend potentially to the upside, depending on how long it lasts for.
Like this. We
All
got an
right.
L3 right here. Close above H1. Close slightly above.
repeat.
You want to
Um,
get in on the indicators?
yeah. Usually this is a good spot to cover it.
Okay. I know a little bit. I don't like the FOMC one.
So the
You
fractal
want-
is really customizable, and Fizz has like dug deep and found some indicators that are hidden on the fractal and kind of put them on his own chart.
You want to explain them? Do you want me?
I'll explain them. So this probable path, like how I was saying, the fractal is mapping out occurrence of trend and showing you the extension and reversion points of it. This is showing you on the fractal graph the area of how much price action occurs given you're on the upside or downside of the chart. So the fractal has an upside, which is everything that is above the pivot, and then a downside and everything that is below the pivot. So when you're charting upside levels, you want to use the upside of the pivot. When charting downside, you want to use the downside levels of the pivot. And what it's showing is probable areas where price action has occurred, in this case, the past 200 trading days. So 80% of the time you have, and you can visually see this, with most of these candles are going down to that 80% area. And then you have 50% of the time price is occurring in that 50% area, and then so on and so forth with 20 and 10%. And that also goes the same with the upside. So once you get across of your pivot, you can potentially look to target your vector once you get across your vector, you can, with high probability, look to target that 80% odds area because 80% of the time price will go to that point. And then once you break that 80 and you take note of the support and resistance that is also in between that point, you can look to target to that 50. And then if you break that 50, you can look to target through that 20. And then through that 20, potentially, it doesn't always happen, obviously, because it's 10% of the time, you can look to target to that 10%. And then once you get to that 10%, it is a high probability of a reversion at that point. So it's good to start swinging calls. It's good to start looking for some sort of counter trend move when you're seeing that setup, because you make pretty good money either off of the swing or off of the intraday reversion off of that fractal setup. Majority of the time we get down to like 50 and 80. So usually you're just playing like bounces or reversals off of 50 and 80, but it's major resistance and support at those 80 and 50 and then down to that 20. And then if you're loading this on different waves, because there's different waves and time frames to load the fractal, the percent probable will show up at different points. So it's just because you're now looking at a different fractal graph. So it's computing the data differently. So it's displaying that price occurs in different areas at different points. The black hash marks that you see on the side next to the percent probable, that's basic support and resistance given by the fractal from like previous reversions.
Wait, how do I get those on my actual chart?
Which ones?
Uh,
The
I
black
think
lines or the percent
I-
probable?
I don't. It's like those little black lines. I think Scav said it's called clusters.
Yeah, those are called clusters. It should automatically be on your chart, the black lines.
No, I'm saying how do I get on like my
Oh, how do
chart
you find out the level of them?
yeah, to get on
Okay.
like TradingView.
So with the fractal, since it's mapping out sequences, you need to make sure that you orient yourself within the most recently printed sequence. So do you see on the bottom how it says like there's just a bunch of L's and a bunch of H's on the top?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that you're staying inside of the sequence that is most recently printed in order to grab accurate levels. Because if Fizz was to line up with the most recently printed daily candle, so like hover your mouse over it, and then where did your mouse go? Just disappeared.
You not
So
see it?
it like when you it's randomly just disappears, but it's fine. So if you were to hover over that first day, which he is right now, hover over it a little bit.
Are you talking about
Oh,
Fridays there?
whenever you go on the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. So he's hovering over Friday, and then
Mhm.
watch if he slides over to that other L and stays completely horizontal. Hold up, he's got to cross out of this. So watch 316.78. He's moving horizontal. You can see the thing in the bottom just moving across the screen. See how the price changes? Because the fractal orients all of the support and resistance based off of the current pivot price. And like I said, that pivot price will change given what trend you are in. And it's going to keep bouncing back and forth to different points and different numbers because the fractal's smart. It's always going to keep recomputing the data for each day. So with that considered, you need to make sure that you stay in the most recently printed candle to get accurate levels for what you're charting. So the best way to do that is to take the slider at the bottom. Yo, can one staff member watch the chat and then figure out who keeps making that noise and just ban him?
I got him. I'm gonna mute him.
And then yeah, you slide at the bottom like Fizz did, and then move that over to the middle because then you get all of your data in that one candle. So that will help you not make an error when you're looking to chart upside and downside. And one thing I want to consider when you are, and I'll get to exactly how you get those black levels in a second. One thing I want to consider, Fizz, if you want to slide out like a tiny bit, like just one candle, just to show where the vector is. So you need to make sure that when you're charting, here, slide over one day because it's easier to show when the vector is like a little farther away from the pivot. Like go back one day.
Go back.
Like back.
one day.
Yeah.
yeah.
So like yeah. Okay, so if we were to be charting upside levels, we need to make sure that we are only grabbing upside levels that are above that price in the box, which is your vector price. Because upside levels are only going to be considered if they are above what that current printed price is. And same thing with downside, but you have to use the downside of your chart, not what's just below that box. That's not going to be accurate because that's not going to be what the fractal is using as resistance. If you have downside, which is anything below 319.17 in this case, you have to be using the downside of your chart. And if you look, the next day we did not print higher than that 319.17, and we used the support from the downside of the fractal graph. And look where we came down to. Look where the low of day was. It was that first major resistance after that white space.
The pivot changes per sequence, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you mean by sequence?
So go back one day again, Fizz. Here, wait, real quick before you go back. Go forward one. Take note of the pivot price right now. See how it's 319.17?
Mm-hmm.
Notice how we just printed a new sequence because we're at an L1. Watch where that pivot price came from, that 319.17. Go back one day. It came from the previous day because it became the new pivot. Because what the fractal is saying, hey, from this H1 that we were just at, we changed. There was a new trend that formed. So the fractal says this is now the pivot point, and everything from here is what we are going, and we as in the fractal are going to decide is upside or downside. So anything below that pivot, upside, anything above that pivot, or anything above that pivot, upside, anything below that pivot, downside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a sequence is just going to be a trend, right? So sometimes you have sequences that last one day. Sometimes you just get one trend in one day. And sometimes you get trends that last for 4 days. If you see right there on the left side of the screen, he has H4.
Mm-hmm.
That was 4 days in a row where price was closing higher than the previous close price before it. So all the fractal is doing is mapping out uptrends and downtrends given certain parameters. In this case, we're looking at wave 1 daily. So it's mapping the uptrend and downtrend on the daily chart. So back to what someone asked about charting the cluster levels. You want to make sure that what you grab for upside is above your vector price, and anything you're grabbing for downside is below your vector price. That's very important. And if you want to, so see how in that 318.17, here, go back a day, Fizz, because it's harder to show with this example because there's not really any. So see that 319.17?
Yeah.
You're going to, the correct way to grab levels on the fractal is to think how the fractal would react if we are upside. So if we are upside, the next levels of resistance that you're going to want to target are everything above 319.17 on the fractal, right?
Yeah.
So you only want to chart what's above 319.17. Now, if you're doing downside, you're not going to do the levels that are on the upside of the fractal chart, which is what Fizz is pointing out right now with his arrow. You want to do what's on the downside of the fractal chart, because that is how the fractal is going to work if you have any sort of price action below 319.17, and I mean intraday, it'll still populate below. If you have any price action below that current vector price, in this case 319.17, you have to use your downside chart, downside. So there's an upside half and there's a downside half. So anything above that vector price, you want to use downside levels. So your first downside levels, in this case on the wave 1 daily, is always going to be that first black resistant point, that black cluster. Does that make sense?
Yo, I got a question. So on the L1 that was printed, that H1 is green, right? So how come the L1 is green? Is that because we closed or we opened a lot lower on the L1 than the H1? Like
Yeah,
there was a
so it
big
was
move tonight?
yeah, so it was a gap down, but it was still a bullish candle. So you can have
Okay.
bullish candles that are below. It sounds confusing, but you can have bullish candles that are still below the vector, of course, because you just had to open up your
Yeah,
close higher
overnight
than
gap.
yeah. So it
Alright.
happens. That's not really the case because you don't always get like gaps that end up closing below, but that's just how the daily candles are going to work. So yeah, that's definitely a good note that those candles red or green is just signifying a bullish or bearish candle close.
What do you use are there any situations that you're looking at the colors of the candles like that help you decide anything?
Not really. I look for where the candle is populating, and now that I understand how the fractal works, especially on wave 1, I know that if we are getting price action below what the vector is, then I use the downside of the chart. If we are getting price action above where the vector is, then I use the upside of the chart. It doesn't really matter if the candle's bullish or bearish because I just want proper support and resistance.
Yeah, just levels. Alright, bet, thanks.
Wait, what do you use to like find bias? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now, technically speaking, and so long as the probabilities keep going in our favor, we should look for continuation. We should look for another higher high until we get to the point where the probabilities are saying otherwise. So when they start saying we're going to have a bearish close tomorrow, when probable paths are saying percents are to the downside, and when we're at like an H3 or 4, and we're starting to hit, if you turn on the probable path indicator, Fizz, and we're starting to hit like our 20%, then we can start switching our bias of continuation. So the fractal is just looking for larger moves. And so
Wait,
long as
so you're saying you would basically you would wait until like we hit around 20% odds, and then you would look for a reversal, because
that would be the most ideal setup for a reversal, starting to get into outlier areas. So you can push into outlier areas. Like, of course, it happens because that's just how it works. But when you have setups that are like more ideal, which would be price action at the 10% odds to the upside and then playing puts from there, that's like the ideal setup that you want to see. So you get your bias by where you are in the fractal and how overextended or how oversold and overbought you are.
is that all you use though?
No, in simple terms, that's just how you use it. Or especially on the wave 1 daily, that's how you use it. So you just look for trend exhaustion and trend setup. So you can see if the fractal is starting to set up for a larger move, and you can see if it's starting to set up for a large reversion or bounce, right? So you
Right now, so right now you look for a continuation. To
right
down.
now where the fractal is sitting, there's no full bias just yet. Technically speaking, if so long as pre-market doesn't gap up above that 318.57, technically speaking, I definitely want to see us retest the close price of Friday and then that first black resistant point. And then if we get through those to the downside, definitely want to see that 80%. And then same thing, if we even have price above that 318.57, then I just want to see us break through that upside resistance and then test that 80%. So right now, the fractal doesn't have too much bias because the market has been very flip-floppy recently. As you can see in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 9 trading days. We've
So
just
would
had
you want? So would you want to go to another wave and then probably find another bias on another wave because this
Absolutely.
one is yeah okay.
always go across different waves and try to find the best setup, right? Wave 1 isn't the do-all wave. It's just the default wave. It's, the first one. So it's the most granular. It's going to give you a good bias, but of course, there's better ways to look at the market, and there's a lot more ways to look at the market through the fractal. We have hundreds of waves, so if you're just sitting on one, you're kind of doing yourself dirty in terms of utilizing the fractal. I like to look at wave 7. If you want to switch over to wave 7, says.
Bro, wave 7 is amazing, bro.
Yeah, I fucking love wave 7. So wave 7, I mean, shit. We can test the 80. We can test the 80, or we can reject here and test that 31611 vector. But definitely setting up for, as you can see, look at those previous moves. We are either setting up for a large leg down to test like that 20% area, or we are setting up for a pretty nice move up, and I mean 20% to the downside, or we're setting for a nice move up, potentially to test that 10%, getting that kind of same trend that we had in the middle of the screen that you're looking at. And that was a fucking bull run right there.
Why is the vector all weird on this one? Like,
so with what I was saying on how, the fractal has different scopes.
Yeah.
Since you're looking at sequences that last longer, the vector is going to be displaying data a little differently. So it needs to take a longer amount of time in order to get that cross underneath and then the flip. With the wave 1, it happens immediately. Once price is below or above the vector, you'll get the flip. In this case, it has to occur for a certain amount of time.
So when you go into options analyzer, whatever it is, and you do you get your levels from the histogram, do you do it on wave 7 or wave 1?
Wave 1.
Wave 1, okay.
Wave 1 daily 200 bar count.
Brad, look at that. We're about to get a squeeze long.
Oh, fuck.
That looks so long right now, bro.
So if that line stays green, that Bollinger Band squeeze on the bottom, then yes, like Fizz said, we will have a bullish trend.
If it stays green in that little yellow zone?
So
Daniel, stupid head, get back.
Getting in the yellow zone will result in a massive move. And the color of the line depends on if the trend is up or down. So green up, red down.
That is like a picture perfect setup right there, bro.
Yeah, it is. Because you break pivot and then you're just looking to break 80, hit 50, and potentially test 20. At least that resistance point right below 20.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that is a really good setup. Holy fuck. Definitely got to keep our eyes on that going into tomorrow. Probably should send that in the system chat just so everyone else sees it. Yeah. So stacking your confluence on different waves is super important because, you can give yourself really good confluence. And then you combine your more pre-market waves, which would be like wave 7, wave 1, wave 3, all in the daily. And then you combine it with your intraday waves like wave 20, wave 100, 5-minute, and then you can get some really nasty bias.
Yeah, looking at this Bollinger Band stuff down here, does it always, when it hits the yellow, does it always hit the expanding?
No.
Okay.
But that's what you look to test. So you can expect it, but don't bank on it, right?
It just looks like it does most of the time, so.
Yeah. You can expect it.
Wait, what yellow zone are you guys talking about?
So see at the bottom of the Bollinger Band, there's that little yellow box where it says
horizontal one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Bollinger squeeze area. So whenever that line gets into the Bollinger squeeze area, it's compressing for a larger trend move. So, like I said, the color of that line that comes out of that compression, that squeeze, is going to dictate bullish or bearish. And then at the top, you also have your macro trend, which is like, I guess it's all manipulated, so it's all fucking green. But yeah, pretty cool. That Bollinger Squeeze does not play around, because if you look on January 23rd, Fizz, if you want to hover over that, that started that move. So you started to get close above your vector. You broke through the 10%. You definitely had some outlier price action because you even broke like down below 10%. And then that last day, that last push was the start of that trend. And look where that Bollinger Band was. And that shit updates in real time. It's not like a fucking laggy buy and sell indicator. That shit went down in that box that day. And the next day we started a bullish trend. And what do you know? That line testing that box was green. So I'm interested to where we go from here if that line, stays green in color and we do get a test up to that Bollinger Band expansion area. We got ourselves a little bull run.
Wait, what line are you talking about when you say it stays green?
The Bollinger Band line. So see how it switches from red to green.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Oh,
the
so
color.
if it stays green, it means we
bullish.
could bounce up. Oh yeah, all right.
If it stays red, downside. If it stays green, upside. And you can use this on different waves as well. But this is like a really clean setup so far.
Wait, how do you pull that up?
It's on the bottom of everyone's screen. It's just hiding. So you gotta
it's like a drag and click thing. Yeah.
So if you look in between the spaces, like wherever you see a space in between a different section of the fractal graph, if you hover over that, most likely you'll be able to slide out some sort of menu or box or something in there. So just keep that in mind. And that's where the stuff is organized in the fractal. Sometimes it's hard to find if you're on the phone, but just hover over it and you'll see it. What else? Yeah, I think we can go back to talking about like the basics, how to use it. Wait, before you refresh. Fuck. Yeah, so did you guys see Fizz's chart before you refreshed?
Yeah, I'll just switch.
So one thing I want to keep note of is, see how his probable paths are like fucked up? You got to make sure that your shit's not fucked up. So either refresh, or what I like to do to ensure that I'm not going to lose the data values that I have put in. So here, go switch your wave real quick to like 20 and then switch days to load to 20. Oh, switch it to 5-minute too, sorry. And then you might have to switch that back to 20 in the days load. Yeah, so switch days load to 20. Or put on your probable path.
So if this wants to load.
Okay, now switch it to refresh. So watch, his bar counts are going to go back to 4 because it's the default one for that. And then watch. Now on the days to load, switch it to 20. Watch his probable paths. Okay, see how his probable paths are like that? Now, don't refresh because, like I said, you're going to get off your 20 days to load. Press the mouse button right next to the undo button on the right. There. That refreshes the probable paths correctly. And you still have loaded your input. Because if you were to say, oh, I just want to refresh my chart, refresh your chart, Fizz, and watch his days to load. Watch how it changes. Refresh it on the left.
Bro's lagging again.
He might have just had to go move his dogs.
So your chart explain says.
W, getting my point across?
What's up?
Move now. Refresh your graph, and then notice his days to load. See, switches back to 4, and then his probable paths are gone. So if you want to load something on like a customized days to load, then your refresh button for the probable path is going to be that mouse. So just make sure that you press that after switching the graph, just to be sure. Okay, so if you want to go back to wave 1, I just had to make that clear. And then, press that without refreshing. You can press that mouse and then, oh, unless it was already good, never mind. So yeah, back to the basic rundown of it. Do you want to go over generate buy signals? Can you hear me, Fizz?
Oh shit, I'm Ickles beat it. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, so let's just run over this. Oh wait, X out of that real fast, and then let's just. So before you grab your generate buy signals, you have to orient to what candle is most recently printed. So if you look all the way at the right, because you read a graph left to right, all the way at the right is L1. So you always have to note what is the most recently printed candle, and then that's what you're inputting in the fractal for the generate buy signals. So just keep that in mind.
And then you want to make sure your ticker is selected. So if this wasn't like that, you need to choose QQQ, whatever wave and daily, whatever you're using. And then whatever L it was. So in our example, it's L1. Then it shows up with this. And click simple long, simple short. And that's going to show you your probable path for tomorrow. And then if you wanted to, you go out more days here. But this only shows for downside sequences. But we're going to get upside sequences, probable path soon. But right now, this is like your main probable path. This is like the most reliant one. So 3/14/36 is our probable path for Monday, which is tomorrow.
So what do y'all do in this instance? Because didn't Brett say that tomorrow would be upside, but the probable path is saying 84% chance downside?
No, that was when we were looking back one day.
Oh, back one day.
I was just talking about continuation. And that was just continuation. I wasn't looking at the odds, so it was literally just like a shot in the dark.
Okay.
But yeah, so to answer your question, when you have conflicting odds, where you have like downside probability and close price upside probability, then intraday play downside, and end of day play upside. Potentially, that's how you should look at it, right? But you want to play what's in front of you. Don't just go fucking blind swinging. You want to use some sort of logical. That's why I like how we combine smart money concepts and fractal use, because use price action, use momentum to understand where trend is going. Use chart patterns. Like you can still use retail shit combined with the fractal, which isn't as retail compared to like the strategies that are out there, of course. And it'll help you give better confidence on what to play.
I don't even use this thing anymore. It's in between my biases.
The probable path?
Yeah.
I don't use it on 200 really. I was just showing other people today.
What do you use it on?
5,000.
5,000.
So please listen to this. If you are going to load it on 5,000, load this shit on 200 first. I'm going to repeat. If you are going to use it on 5,000, load it on 200 first, because it'll automatically be loaded with the parameters that you need. And if you try to adjust them on 5,000, it's going to crash your shit. It's going to be too slow to load. So just please, 200 first, then X out of it, and switch to 5,000.
Damn.
Switch to 5,000.
Whoever just unmuted, bro, fix your mic.
Yeah, that was crazy, Mike.
No, it's an alt account. They just made their account.
Do you want to ban them?
Yeah, sure. I'll ban them.
And then switch to 5,000, and then your new probable paths and your probability will be loaded. So yeah, it also gives you like more confidence, because the more days that you're taking in the more data is considered. So whether you look at that as more skewed or more interpreted, I think it's more interpretation data. So that's why I like switching to like 5,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 bar count.
Wait, how do you change it to 5,000?
Because if you want to X out of that, and at the bottom right there,
Yeah.
just press 5,000
Oh, okay.
and then twiddle your thumbs for a little bit because it's going to take a sec to load. Twiddle, twiddle, twiddle.
And then you said to like, how do you stop it from not crashing your thing?
I already have it loaded up on 200 bar count. Like,
Oh, okay.
input it all like you normally would. Go switch the days, and then you're good.
Okay.
Once you load it back up again. We'll show you. Just it's slow. This is why I don't like to fuck around with anything on 5,000 bar count. Learn from experience. Yeah, as you can see, it's fucking slow. So now he's gonna right click and then do the same thing that you would. And there you go. You now have your new odds and your new target levels. Those are a lot cleaner because they're closer and they tend to hit better. Sometimes those probable pass on the 200 bar count can be a little crazy.
Like, what do you mean?
They're way too far.
Yeah.
Yo, my
Absolutely. Rob just said it. He's with me right now. You would use the 200 as like outlier where you can hit them, and we have hit them, and we've gotten like 2,000, 3,000% of them, but it doesn't always happen. So you can't go swinging for that 200 bar count path. But like what Rob just said, it'll be best to use those as outlier targets, and then the 5,000 bar count as like more confident targets that you can hit with pretty much ease because one of those levels are going to be very close, if not already hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you would want to switch back to 200 and not really fuck around with that. Anything else? You can grab your long and short zones off that too. But 200 bar count long and short zones are good for now. But yeah, you just go and sort histogram and do the same thing.
Is there
all.
anything that we didn't
What?
cover in the last Fractal session?
I think so. Market maker move, data warehouse, game theory.
Oh! What's game theory? We should cover game theory.
Yeah, if you want to go over that, Fizz, if you want to right click that. Game theory is just a good way of backtesting your strategy and your parameters. So if you've been trading for a while, you kind of understand your win rates, or even if you've been trading for a week, I mean, you can calculate your win rate. And or if you're looking to like target a realistic win rate, which would be like, and you could say at least 50%, right? Because that's a fucking coin flip. You can put in your win rate, and you can put in what your average win goes to, what your average loss goes to, and then you can see like, okay, if I were to take this many trades, how would I take my account? Given you have a certain trade size and a certain account size. And you can simulate that on a bunch of scenarios by pressing how many iterations to simulate, and that's on the bottom right there. So this basically shows like if 5 different people were to do this. I guess you're going to click 5. If 5, and then press simulate. So if 5 different people were to do this, where'd it go? Where's all 5? Oh, some blew their account and just stopped trading at the bottom.
Let me just do this.
So what that's showing you is different situations that people would take and paths that their accounts would take, given they have these parameters in place. And then you can add some randomization into it, where the average winners are only up to that amount, so up to 100% and less, and the average losers are up to 30% and less in this case. If you want to check those, because this makes the charts look a little crazier.
Wait, you want me to randomize?
Yeah. Just randomize loss for right now and then simulate. Okay, so so it's good. So the lines get a little less consistent when it's random because obviously this is a more realistic representation of how it works. So you have good run-ups on the account. Basically, what it's showing is that those first few trades, especially on a smaller account, they kind of need to work, and then you can really compound the gains from there. If those first few trades don't work out, like we can see on this one path that dips down first, they've really had a hard time the whole time, and then in the end, after those 20 trades, never really got profitable. And then if you want to look at it in a chart view, press results. This shows you each account and what they net, what they gain, how much they lost, the ending balances, results if it was a success or failure, and then how many trades they took in that iteration. So it's a good way of backtesting a strategy. And then you kind of orient yourself in those parameters and be like, okay, I can take my $1,000 account with $50 trades to $10,000 in X amount of trades, so long as I follow these parameters in regards to loss and then these parameters in regards to wins. And you can set yourself up in a pretty fair situation, almost simulation, because you're just running simulations of accounts. And you can look for valid situations where this would be like the best way to take your account up, and this would be like the worst way. And I'll do a class on the game theory where we just show, it'll be like a literally 5-minute class. We just show how you can take like $1,000 account to $1 million and what parameters it would be. It takes a lot less trades than you think.
Kind of like you, bro.
W account run up.
What's the market maker move?
Yeah, let's get into that. Fuck, love that.
Manipulation, bro.
Oh yeah, we might not be able to. I think we'll be able to load it.
I think.
Oh nice.
Scav
Okay, it's still open.
Wait, is it the floor and ceiling thing?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I know.
Basically, they just want to draw each other to the floor and ceiling.
Depending on where you are.
Wait, whichever one has a better washout means there's a.
That did not load properly.
What?
Yeah, it's fucked. The data's off.
The data's
All right,
off.
guys, I'm a dip. Thank you so much for the class.
Yep, I'll see you, brother.
See you, man.
I mean, we can still explain it without the data if you want.
Yeah, because it still looks the same, kind of. It's just not showing up any numbers. So you would just open your graph. You select the expiration date that you're looking to target. You open your graph, you press load, and then you select the expiration date that you're looking to target. And then you press calculate market maker move. And then you would want to be on the landscape tab, which it might automatically change itself to. And then Fizz, if you want to explain this part.
Okay. So usually there's this thing hiding up here, but it's called the peak money line. And it's gonna be like a red line across. And then it'll also show you the calls and puts in the market, the amount. And so if you're above the peak money line, you're bullish. If you're below, you're bearish. And then these floors and ceiling, the floor down here and then the ceilings up here, they can act as magnets as the end of the day and support and resistance. You can see a big rejection off of those and see it reverse. Or on a trend day, if we had a upside trend day, they sometimes will bring it to the ceiling and then they'll hold it there, wait for more puts to come to the market, and then they'll push it. They'll just keep pushing it up the whole day. That's how they do it. And then you can sort of get a bias by adding up these calls and puts in the market. Usually you'll be able to read it easier, the peak money line there. But right now you can see.
You said how can you use it for trend days? Because that's like.
So usually on trend days, what they'll do is they'll hold it at the ceiling and wait for puts to come into the market, or it can be vice versa, floor, and then they'll wait for calls to come in the market and then push it down.
Trying to get people that are using fractal levels to take puts off of that?
No, market makers.
Oh, market makers. Okay.
Yeah. So to explain what this is You can do this through Thinkorswim manually.
Yeah.
But I keep saying it, the Fractal's smart, so it's going to do things for us,
Yeah.
and it's computing what the market makers are going to do given certain points in the market, certain price points in the market.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that makes
yet
sense.
again,
Yeah. Because
yet
I
again,
was confused. I
Fractal is
didn't think
computing.
that much retail was using fractal levels.
Yeah, no, it's not. We're not just yet. But market makers are always fucking looking to move price and make money off of. They got to make money too.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
you can track it, and you can develop some sort of bias given the setup that they are moving the market around in. There's still a few more updates that are going to come to this market maker move, but for right now, it's really powerful.
So when do you chart this? Like intraday, or because I know it moves during the day, right?
Yeah, so both. You're gonna want to
Okay.
chart it the day before. You're gonna want your dead zone. You're gonna want your ceiling and floor, your peak money line, and then intraday, you want to look at it for the setup that's coming, and you want to see where that floor is. You want to see where your ceiling is. You want to see your exposure. That's important.
So for intraday, do you want to chart it, or do you just want to look at it and see
Just
where
refer
it's
to it.
okay?
AOB
How
red.
do you chart the dead
Yeah.
zone?
I'm
Does it
about
have
to
a
I'm about to
time
go
code?
grab food with my sister.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll cover this whole thing real quick. So you see this exposure on the left at every level.
Yeah.
So what this is showing you is how much the market makers will lose or gain at that level if they close price there. And so with that, this is gonna usually look a lot different, but at this floor, it will show a positive number, and then all the numbers out of this will show negative. But you can use this to your advantage by basically seeing which path it's easier for them to take and seeing how much puts and calls are in the market. So let's say there was around 100,000 puts in the market compared to 200K calls in the market. So, and then we had an easier route to the floor. You can obviously assume that they're just going to bring it to the floor because they have 100K puts. They only have to pay out, and they'll take money from those 200K calls. And it's easier for them to push it to the floor. They don't need as much as money to be moved to get it to the ceiling. So
Yeah.
Yep. That's a perfect explanation. It's showing you the path that the market makers need to take in order to get done what they have to do at the end of the day. And they're going to take the easiest path and most likely the most profitable path, whichever of two, the mix of two are there, and it'll be the ceiling or floor majority of the time.
So for exposure, is the higher the number better for them or lower?
depends if it's negative or not. If it's, let's say, like we're dead in the middle, right? Which is where the peak money line will be. The peak money line shows the most amount of exposure the market makers will have. And I wish we could see it right now, but it's all fucking covered up. But
Yeah.
usually it would show you the amount of exposure. So usually it would be like right here at this green line somewhere. And it will show, let's say, negative 57 million or something. Let's say this was our peak money line, negative 36 million. And then so the peak money line can act as support and resistance. We can see like it come retest it and then bounce off of it or continue pushing past it. You want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's good because you can go get food.
All right, no.
We'll probably just end the class here. I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's starting to get late.
Wait.
Answer someone's question about how to chart the dead zone. You just want to grab that by you'll see it when you're charting, at a better time because you can't do it like past 12 Eastern, I think. If you have it pulled up, it'll just be a tiny box. Like you'll see it on screen. It'll give you a level of in between. It's really easy to see. Another data point that you're going to look to chart, and you'll put that on your chart just by doing a small rectangle box with a level on the top and a level on the bottom, and then label that your dead zone. And that point is going to be where each side, both calls and puts, make the least amount of money.
Question.
Yeah.
do the market movers take it wherever the washout is higher? Like I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so the market makers are going to move price, like Fizz said, wherever is the easiest for them to move it and the most profitable for them to move it. And when we say ease of moving it, is that the market makers have to still pay out and like allow people to have successful positions. And it sounds weird, but they're going to mainly try to have the least amount of people profitable and them have profit as well. And with the market maker move charted, you can see where that point is and where would be the best point to continue onward. Say we're at like an hour before market close, which is why you see Fizz using that a lot before market close.
So whichever one has um like less cons is more likely that the market movers are gonna take it that way.
Yeah, in one part of it, yes, for sure. And then in the other part, you would look for exposure levels, which basically just shows how much they're under.
Yeah, I didn't understand the exposure thing. What does it mean?
So that's showing how much they would need to pay out if you're at the ceiling or floor. So you can get a bias of, okay, are they going to need to pay out this amount if they hit it here, or this amount if they pay it here? And usually they're going to take that cheaper path. And I'm going to do like a full extensive class in the market maker move intraday so that we can really like lock in on how to use it, because I feel like there's a lot of confusion around it.
Can I show you my screen real quick?
Yeah.
Oh, not this one. Does it not count as like a... Hold on. Oh, no, it does. Okay. Do you see it?
Just loading. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so when you're charting clusters, you want to like line it up, right?
Yeah.
So this one's like 90 right here, and then this one, the top of it's 98. So these are usually like 10 to like, damn.
Yeah, 10 to 20 cents apart. Press quit. Oh, you fucked it up. I got X out of here. There you go. But you're...
I have to exit out the whole thing.
Yeah. So with what Noah's was saying is you have to make sure that however you chart those black clusters, you're consistent. So what I would do and what I do, and from the start of using it until there's some sort of automation to the black clusters, which is not yet, I just put a piece of paper on my screen, or you can use the crosshair now that like Fizz recommended because it's honestly useful. But I would use a piece of paper on my screen and just manually line up the arrow. The tip of that arrow would line up with the bottom of the black box, and then the tip of the arrow line up with the top of the black box. And then on average, you're going to get like, it's going to be consistent. If you're doing it right, every single black hash mark that is the same size, because sometimes there's two of them together. So every single black hash mark that is the same size should be the same size on your chart.
It's between, usually it's like between like 7 to 10 cents.
Yeah,
it's not anything.
Sometimes huge. the fractal precision exact. So yeah, you might get like 10, you might get 11 or 12, but I'm telling you, like, majority of the time, if you're consistent with how you're grabbing it, it's going to be 10 or 20 cents per zone. So it's a small zone, and it gives you more wiggle room with how you're going to have the bias of, oh, did we break this resistance? Are we holding at the resistance? Are we breaking below it or above it? Because now it's like a 10-cent zone, so you can give yourself a first touch, which would be like the break into the bottom or top of it, and then a full break, which would be, finishing off the move of breaking through it.
But you have to be on the most recent day to get the right price.
You gotta. And you have to make sure that if you're doing upside, you're above the vector. If you're doing downside, anything below the vector, because then again, those levels are not going to be accurate if you don't do it that way. Yeah, it took me a lot of time to figure out that that's how you did it correctly, and I back tested it for a while, where I was charting the technically wrong side, where I was doing still upside levels for a downside move, like I was using the upside of the fractal graph for the downside resistance. Not how you're supposed to do it. The levels did hit, but
Alright,
I was charting so many more levels just to have, you know, only needing 2 or 3 of them in reality to the downside. You got everything enabled on that graph.
Yeah. 99 and then.
Yep. So just I would line up that line like there's a little dash in the arrow because like how you make the arrows. There's a dash and then the less than sign. I would just line up that dash in there with the top. Like take a piece of paper, line up, slap the piece of paper on the top of that black box, and then put your line right on the top of that paper line 2, and then cover the bottom of that black part, and then line it up the same way. You just want to be consistent with how you're lining it up. Whatever way you do it, just make sure it's consistent. Each of your cluster zones should be the same size. You should not see different size, because then that means you probably didn't grab one of them correctly if it's a different size. You know, there's going to be ones that are bigger, of course, because you see larger ones, but
yeah, these are tiny. These are like 3 to 4 cents right now. Wait, I just pressed quit, right?
Yeah.
Is it because I have too much loaded?
I think so.
Wait, I still don't get the difference between vector and pivot.
The vector is just going to be, like I said, you can call that your new pivot. So when you change in sequence, that vector or new pivot is going to become the pivot. So the vector is just where you orient yourself if you get a counter trend move. So that's why it's called the new pivot, because if you get a reversal off that point, it'll be that price that becomes the pivot.
So if we're in like a let's say we're in like a H2, and then we get a L1.
Yep.
Does the pivot become whatever the vector of H2 was?
Exactly. You got it.
All right.
Yeah, it's not that hard to understand. It takes a little bit of like thinking to get your head wrapped around how it works on the wave 1.
So vector is just like the candle close.
Exactly. On the wave 1 daily, yes. On the wave 1 daily, yes. On other time frames, it's different.
I'm probably just gonna use the wave 1 daily for like
a
while
no, for sure.
until I like understand it.
Yeah, that's exactly. I used wave 1 daily for what? For like
Gino's mic is on.
That was funny as fuck. That was number 5.
Bro, yeah, she's fucking embarrassing me, bro.
I used wave 1 for about 2 or 3 months, and then I would also switch to wave 7 and kind of orient myself using that as well. But yeah, just charting on wave 1 daily, 200 bar count, valid.
If I'm not going to the strip club, fuck. Yo, Bread.
Yeah.
Check your iMessage.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm most likely going.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Responsible class in tomorrow too. Ooh.
Alright, I'm gonna end the recording now.
Okay.